think video games, at the end of the day, are a way of escaping into a different world. And I've always found that to be one of the most enjoyable things about playing video games, being able to dive in headfirst into something that isn't real, but it gets you away from your problems. It gets you away from the things that you're dealing with in real life sometimes. And Dispatch is a game where I have found myself kind of lost in. It's a video game world crafted and created with a lot of love. Episode 3 and episode 4 have now released, and I was very excited to get my hands on these particular episodes because I wanted to know if the story was going to continue to improve and continue to get good, or if episode 1 and 2 were maybe a one-off hit. And I can tell you right now that those episodes just improve the story even more. The game gets better. It's so much funnier than the first 2 episodes. It has emotion, it has twist, it has a lot of great classic moments that I'm going to be remembering for a really long time after Dispatch finishes. Now, one thing that I do want to touch upon in the first episode is that we talked about a theory that was going on online about potentially Blonde Blazer manipulating Robert. A lot of you guys were telling me like, duh, it's super obvious. That's what's going on. Can't you see? She got him drunk. She made him do this, and all that. Okay, all right. And some of you guys, like I mentioned in the comments, are maybe smarter than I am. But one thing that happened at the very beginning of episode 1 was where Robert and Royd were getting scraps from his Mecha Man suit so that Royd can begin building the suit back up. And Royd said something that I found really weird.
All right, I get it. Can we focus on...
Where the Astro Pulse at?
Lost in the blast while I was flying. No clue where it landed. I spent a couple weeks after it happened trying to track it down.
It powered a whole suit.
Yeah, it's the only piece of the suit my dad didn't have schematics for. That gonna be a problem?
Now, him saying that and his reaction kind of threw me off a little bit. Is there something else going on that the entire SDN are in? Why is that particular power so important to Shroud, so important it seems to the SDN? And then later on, Royd and Robert are having a conversation where Royd is kind of prying some information about his dad and saying, well, your dad did this, this, and that. And Robert's like, well, how do you know that? He said, well, I met your dad once and we talked for an hour. And Robert's like, you got all of that information out of him in 1 hour? So it's a little weird. It didn't beat you over the head with it, but it definitely showed itself more in this episode where I started questioning it. And then as the episode started, I started questioning everybody that was close to Robert. What about Chase? Chase is an old friend that supposedly recommended him. But I don't know, the characters there, Chase and everybody else at the SDN, kind of also seems like they're just there trying to do their job. But I still have this weird feeling. So my guard is somewhat up, but at the same time, somewhat down. And I'm not trying to rant like a crazy psycho on this, but things do seem a little weird, but also they don't seem that weird. So I'm just kind of playing it by ear and seeing how it goes. You have to make some hard decisions in this episode with your team. You end up meeting most of your team in person and talking to them. Robert is just improving as a character. Robert is improving dealing with his team. And now you have Phenomenon Man, who I was able to talk to a little bit more. And to be honest, he made me laugh. He was funny. And at first I was a little bit weary of him because in episode 3 and 4, Blonde Blazer tells us that when they had dinner in episode 2, it was because she wanted to break up with Phenomenon Man. She broke up with him. And then that at first threw a little trigger to me, like, oh, now she breaks up with him. This is weird. And then Phenomenon Man comes in. But then Phenomenon Man really looks depressed. He even grew a beard out. He looks sad. He looks like he's an alien. He's not a human. He's an alien. He's a hero who's been doing this for a long time. But he kind of doesn't know social cues, or he kind of doesn't understand the humans. And he's just an awkward, weird kind of guy sometimes. And maybe that's why he acted so weird when he met us the first time. Some of you guys mentioned that in the comments below. So definitely that's something that I missed. But I saw it a lot more in this episode. And you get a choice between choosing Waterboy and Phenomenon Man to add to your Z team because you have to let somebody go on your team. So somebody has to replace him. And honestly, at first I thought I was going to go with Waterboy because maybe there's some potential there. He looks like a nice kid. We might be able to mentor him into how to use his powers the right way. But after conversations with Phenomenon Man, I just figured, you know what? I'm actually enjoying the dynamic that I have with him and Robert. I'm enjoying the dynamic of having this really powerful hero at my disposal to try to build him back up and maybe give him a new purpose in life because he's like obsessed with Blonde Blazer. He's like obsessed and depressed because nothing is going right in his life. So I thought that was a very interesting dynamic, and so I chose Phenomenon Man. This all kind of leads into episode 4. Episode 4 started off with a fucking bang. You guys kind of know what I'm talking about. Basically, Invisigal has a wet dream of Robert. I felt like this was the game forcing you to make a choice, because clearly you have Blonde Blazer that some people are like love at first sight. This is like the classic love story. And then you have this broken type of girl, this bad girl who all she needs is love, and she can give you a lot of love, but it's something different, and it's a little bit more complicated, and you're diving into that. This episode, like I said, start off with a bang, this freaking thing, and it's fire, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like Invisigirl gets wild. So you can tell she's a freak, you could tell she's freaky, and she does all this crazy stuff, and some people really fuck with that. Like, who wouldn't like some craziness like that? But then it flips, and you find out that it's a dream. Robert goes into work, and then he sees Invisigirl, who's kind of like trying to test the waters because of the dream she had. And so you get to play a little bit with her, have a little bit of banter, and you start building that relationship. So I started seeing that, and I'm thinking like, this is very, very interesting. And in the previous episode, I kind of jumped over, but in episode 3, there was a little bit of that thing building up between Invisigirl and Robert, because Robert helped her, walked her through an issue she was having, and made her believe in herself. So that's why she ended up having that type of feelings for Robert. And the game switches you between the two characters. So you're feeling Invisigirl for a minute, and then in the next scene, you see Blonde Blazer putting on this dress, and she looked fucking amazing. So it's like, what do you do? Robert says to himself, this is such a crazy day, because it is. It's this overwhelming feeling of what is going on. There's a lot of things here, and you have to make a choice. And so eventually the game leads you towards that. As the game progresses, you learn a little bit more about some things from these characters. And episode 4 basically ends with you having to make a choice. Robert Robertson. Do you go out on a date to watch a movie with Invisigirl, or do you go out to have a late dinner with Blonde Blazer? And honestly, I thought the game was gonna let it build up a little bit more before having to make a decision, because I'm not gonna make the story long. I went with what I felt was the best decision, what I was feeling from the very beginning. Invisigirl, I was like, I don't kind of want to mess with her, but also no, because Blonde Blazer has my attention. So I chose Blonde Blazer, and I thought it was the correct choice. Now, this is wild and cynical maybe to even say, but when I go to see her, I think, she looks fucking fantastic, of course. And then she tells us that she wants to show us, Robert, her real self. And so she grabs that little necklace that she has around her neck, and she says that it hides how she truly looks. So she takes off the necklace, and in my head, I'm thinking like, yo, whoa, hold on. In my head, I was thinking she's gonna be like, maybe like ugly, or she's going to be like really like old, or she's gonna be like messed up. Like, I thought something was gonna happen, because the way the game built it up, that's what I thought was gonna happen. And so she takes it off, and it's this whole thing, and I'm like, oh Lord. And I almost thought like, did I make the right choice? And that's wild. That's fucking wild to say, but that's what was going through my head. Anyway, she takes it off, and then you see her lose a few inches in height, so she's not as tall. She's still muscular, but not as muscular, and her hair is a different color. She's not blonde, she's a brunette. And honestly, when I saw her, I thought, wow, this is a beautiful character as well. Like, so it wasn't nothing to be worried about, I guess. Like, she's great looking, amazing looking as Blonde Blazer, and then as her normal human self, quote unquote, maybe, she looks fantastic too. And that was crazy, because now we know that Blonde Blazer, although she's a superhero, her powers and her appearance come from this necklace that she's wearing. So this necklace must be very powerful. Maybe it's an heirloom, maybe she got it somewhere. We don't know her origins yet, but I thought it was very interesting to see that change. And honestly, the game was phenomenal. I love that I made that choice. Again, what's gonna happen in the future? Am I being played? Am I a fucking idiot? Maybe. But I love the game. I love episode 3 and 4, and this is an insane game that I am enjoying every single second of. I'm gonna say it, man. I love Robert Robertson, and I love Blonde Blazer together. Blonde Blazer even told us her real name, which I am forgetting right now, but that was very interesting. They had a very cute moment. They had a very good dinner, and I fucked with it. I can't lie. So that was it for my thoughts, for my reviews and impressions on episode 3 and 4. We're gonna do a little bit more of a deep dive on Invisigal and Blonde Blazer, and the way that the game makes you choose between these two characters. And that's gonna be coming out during the weekend, I believe. That's something very interesting that I want to cover, as well as the comic book issues, which may release later today or tomorrow for sure, which will be comic book issue number 2.